Welcome to Visualize, the podcast where collaboration fuels change. I'm your host, Chris Baker, and each week we'll explore incredible connections between nonprofits, businesses, and the community. This is a space where we highlight inspiring partnerships, uncover strategies for creating meaningful impact, and share stories that show how working together can make all the difference. Whether you're a nonprofit leader, a business owner, or someone just passionate about building connections, this podcast is for you. Hi, welcome back to another episode of Visualize. Today I have Kevin Greenberg with Don't Back Down. Welcome, Kevin.
Thank you very much. It's an honor for me to be here, Chris. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's an honor to actually have you here. Thank you so much. So tell us a little bit about your journey and how you are assisting nonprofits.
That's a great question. And I can tell you it started probably at a young age from my parents. May they rest in peace, a blessed memory. My parents were involved, my mother specifically, with the women's shelter back in where I come from, Wilkes-Barre, PA, Poconos, if you will, the foothills of the Poconos. And I helped her at a young age. My mother was a healer, absolutely. I have some of those traits as well. I'm not a professional healer, but just as you grow older, right, at my age and the experience that I've had. So I learned at a young age to be able to give back and to be able to be grateful and to walk in gratitude every day. I don't know if I understood that at such a young age. Right? We're still trying to figure that out at our ages, right?
I think we're always going to be trying to figure that out no matter what age we're at. So yes, fair enough.
Yeah. So so my mom, and I'm going to do my best not to be emotional during this podcast, but I'm okay. I wear my emotions on my sleeve. So that's when it really started. My father was, may he rest in peace, a Korean War veteran. So he was hurt really badly, war hero, and I'll leave it at that. However, he never had that entitlement. He was the toughest guy I've ever known from what he went through. And he gave back to the Korean War veterans, to the American Legion. And I helped him with some of that when I was younger. We'd go to the cemetery and put the flags on Memorial Day. Mm-hmm. And then that led, fast forward to professionally with my career, where I was able to take those lessons from a young age and really put them into action and make a difference in a larger community footprint, if you will. So I can tell you I've done a lot of work with nonprofits. I've raised a lot of money for nonprofits. I've created new programs for nonprofit groups. So I've been really fortunate and blessed. And it's not me, right? It's the people that I've been blessed to be around. And again, you're looking for people that you want to be able to collaborate with. That we're going to talk about that a little bit, I suppose, right? And you put out there in the universe, and we talk about karma, right? It's true, man.
What you put out, you get back.
Right. Yeah. So I learned at a young age to be able to give back, and it doesn't cost you a thing, just sweat equity. And we all have sweat equity and time if we really care to be able to give back and make a difference.
100%. Yeah. So talk a little bit about some of these collaborations that you started to lead into. So that's good.
Okay. So a charter school for the arts was probably one that was really one of my favorites because it was close to my heart. I'm colorblind, but I've been in the art world, if you will, creatively for, probably since I was 14 or 15 years old when I first got my start with a PBS station, NPR station, PBS station back in Pennsylvania, and I've always had that desire to make a difference with the gifts that I've had. Mm-hmm. So the Charter School for the Arts was a school that was started by myself and some other teachers and some other people, some lawyers, accountants, because you need money to start a charter school. Yeah. Because the arts, and you know this, right? Everybody knows this. Arts continue to be what? Cut. Right. And listen, I'm all for sports. I love playing basketball. I practiced football. I didn't play football in high school. I practiced for 2 years. However, it's all important because we want well-rounded, young adults, right? To be able to be leaders.
Yes.
To help us in these nonprofits. So there's a circle and it's a connection to me.
Yeah. And especially with the arts, they're so powerful to actually open up your mind. And so when you're actually looking at starting a business or building the business, you need to think outside the box. And one of the best ways is having that art as a background. it opens up your mind to go, what if I painted it this way? Or what if I did it this way? Whatever the art is, whether it's, drawing, painting, singing, acting, whatever that art needs to be for you, it helps to expand your mind. You get exposed to different other artists really quickly. And I think that's one of the best ways to really help grow.
Absolutely. That self-expression, right?
Right.
And that art, even though if you're a book reader, that's okay. You're what? You're figuring out and looking at the pictures in your brain, right? Your mind's eye. So it's all beneficial. So that was a long haul. We got to the point where we were able to start interviewing teachers, and it was such a labor of love. I can remember I was so involved. I'm going to pat myself a little bit on the back here, but I had a motorcycle accident, and we needed the petitions to get signed. And actually, I was heading over to the school when I was hit by someone on my motorcycle. Yet it didn't stop me, right? Don't back down, man.
Hell yeah.
And so I remember our youngest son, Jacob, shout out to Jacob. He helped me with the petitions. I'm on crutches with I was not in good shape. However, this was such a labor of love and a passion because it infuriated me, maybe. How about, I had controlled rage, maybe. However, what did I need to do with that controlled rage? Put it into something that was productive. So
correct.
I'm schlepping through these neighborhoods, but where the school is, on my crutches with Jacob helping me, with the clipboard, and I haven't thought about this in forever. So thank you for bringing that. Sorry, the mic. Thank you for allowing me to remember that memory. So that was a big one. Another one that I can remember, and this is all in Pennsylvania. Through my journey, we didn't talk about my journey, which doesn't matter. But in Pennsylvania, when I moved back, I was in Washington, D.C. for a long time. And I did some work in Washington, D.C. I'd like to talk to you about as well. However, the other one was in 100 years, the Jewish Community Center and the YMCA were less than a city block away from each other, and never collaborated. Exactly.
Okay.
Thank you. Right? So
you think about that, like proximity. You should, hey, let's go check out what you're doing.
Right? Money, right? It's the same kind of boards. You're in the same environment, right? So it was really interesting to me. But growing up, I never thought about it.
Sure.
I spent time at the JCC, and that's where and I did spend a little bit of time at the Y. They had a great pool. However, when I moved back to Pennsylvania from DC, I was just fortunate to be able to connect with the right people at the right time, and we created what was called the Wilkes-Barre Duathlon. And it was a program, and we were certified by the U.S. Triathlon Committee or organization. That was a big deal for us because we needed to be legitimate, and we had people come in from 3-4 different states into Wilkes-Barre. So every Father's Day, I worked with it for about 10 years. My children are glad that it's over because they were getting up with me at 5 o'clock in the morning to help me set up cones or, get the race, the race track, not the racetrack, but the, forgive me, the path.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm thinking of, but you get it, right?
I do.
The route,
yeah.
Right? It was a run bike event. However, the best part of it is that it benefited the JCC and the YMCA. It benefited youth programs. It benefited parents who couldn't pay full dues. It benefited senior citizen programming. And what did we do? That money went right back into both organizations, and it was an incredible success. Probably the most successful for a community, right? For a community.
Yeah.
I was involved in my kids' schools, in the parochial schools, in my synagogue, the charter school. I helped another charter school. We helped them raise money. They were focused on in the environmental sciences. It was a totally different charter school. So I was really fortunate to move back to my hometown at a great time of growth for the area, but also growth for me, my family, and to be able to make a difference. And it's still happening today. I'm not involved in it because I'm here in South Florida. So those two, I would think, out of the ones that I've been involved in, stick with me the most.
Let's go a little bit deeper on that story. How did you help connect them at that start? How did that story happen?
So with the charter school, or for the duathlon with the JCC, or
the JCC and the YMCA.
Okay, so if I recall correctly, forgive me, it's a long time ago,
Sure.
25 years. However, a boyhood friend that I was reconnected with, Eric Cranston. Another shout out to Eric. I haven't talked with him forever. We reconnected. He stayed. He was in Wilkes-Barre. He stayed and made his career and his family there. And we always played basketball. We were in the basketball team together, and we were just friendly. I think he was a year or two older than me. He was connected, obviously, because I was out of town for almost 20 years when I left college and went to DC. And he was connected with with some athletes. He was connected with some high performers, some very successful professional people, because that's who we needed, because we needed money to get started, right? Until we started raising money in the community. So he was telling me a little bit about how he wanted to do some programs. They were talking with the Dwight, and anything never got off the ground for a couple of years. So then I know Sean Robbins, Tim Evans, Steve Tarrin. These are all people I haven't talked with in a while. Hi, everybody. We got together and came up with this duathlon. We couldn't do a triathlon because there was a very popular triathlon that was already established 20 years. So we wanted to do something that was specifically for Wilkes-Barre. So we came up with a duathlon. It was a run bike event, and it was awesome. Sponsors, the city, the police. We had such collaboration. I was shocked because you know this. You deal with municipalities. Yeah, we need to pay, overtime for our police, right? We get all that. But I think we hit a nerve that between the Jewish community, and there's lots of non-Jews that belong to the JCC, lots of Jews that belong to the Y. So it just made sense at that time
to connect the two. Yeah.
And so that's how we started it. I was, again, fortunate that I had that relationship with Eric, and he was connected to the right people with both organizations. Plus, he was one of the leaders. He worked full time for the JCC, and he had a couple friends that were staff at the YMCA. So it just made sense.
It's so interesting that, every time we talk about collaboration, it's those connections and what they do. So building relationships is so deeply important. Because as you're building those relationships and you're expanding into the community, you start seeing the need, you start seeing opportunities, and you start seeing different things. So I really like that story. Thank you so much.
The layers, right?
Yeah.
You layer off. And, it's not just about know, like, trust, right? It's also about respect. All right. That's my fourth pillar. We talk about that all the time, networking, know, like, trust. However,
I always add value too. So you got to provide value.
Yeah. Let's do half sizes. Let's do half, right? So right. It's all that, it's all of that plus more, but you also have to, right? You gotta have that loving kindness in your heart. And that's why when you ask me the first question, it goes back to my mom,
That's beautiful. That's very important to keep those memories of, the ones that you love that brought you here and gave you that strength, that passion.
And how fortunate I am, because as I get older and I'm meeting other people, and we're now more comfortable talking about our stories, depending on what network and circle we're in. But there's so many people that have had such, I can't curse, horrible fucking lives, and how parents can treat it just blows my mind. So the people that I meet who've had those stories, that share them with me, I embrace them and I lift them up and do what I can to just inspire them, because I can't imagine that, pain, anguish that goes away. It takes a really, really tough person and a badass, excuse my language, to really come through that and to be smiley and positive and not just be a victim, right? So
I appreciate you calling me a badass.
You are a badass.
The reason I actually asked that, and I'll go a little bit more deep into that one, is I removed myself from my family because of the way that I was treated and the way that I was perceived in a negative light. And I have no problem speaking about it now. It was painful.
Yes.
And nobody needs to go through that. And one of the biggest things is I'm still going out there. I'm still doing what needs to get done, and I'm making a difference in the world. And I've grown. I don't regret anything. Everything was a beautiful learning lesson for me. And I keep smiling. No matter what it is, I have to keep smiling.
So I'm going to turn the tables here. I'm going to be the host here.
Sure.
However, that's why who you are, because imagine if you didn't have the strength and the grit and the badass attitude, and I don't know if you had somebody with you or it was all yourself, right? However, if you stayed in that situation, you wouldn't be here now. You wouldn't be making a difference in the community, and your focus on nonprofits are the people that you want to help because you were them at one time, to be able to empower them, to be able to make a difference and to grow a bigger, larger community. And especially now in our current times, I'm not going to get political with you. However, read between the lines, people. Right? More now than ever, right? What you're doing, what I'm doing, the people that we're surrounded with, and those people that have mindfulness and loving kindness, are be able to help. Just help your fellow man, right? It's not about how much you have. How much is enough? Doesn't matter, right? Just treat each other the way that we're supposed to, with respect and loving kindness. And how can I help you? Yeah. Right? Those are the friends you want around, right? Not like telling you what's wrong. No, you shouldn't be doing it that way. Wow, that's really amazing. How can I help you? Or is there a way you might be able to think about doing it differently? Or what I like to do, and some people have a problem with this, my clients sometimes, it's like, okay, great, we did that. What's next? They want to do they want to stand for a week or two on their accolades. We made the goal. Let's go to the next part. And it's another part of why my company, Don't Back Down, also focuses on Kaizen, right? Kaizen is constant improvement. And actually, I believe in it so much that I have the Japanese letters right here on my shoulder. I'm not showing you that on this episode. Maybe episode 2. I'm still working on getting shape. However, that's all. It's all related. So thank you for sharing that with me, man.
Yeah, no.
I was fortunate.
And I honestly, we are going to go a little bit deeper into that. So I was very fortunate to see a family the way that a family should be run, and that had the loving and care. And it was my best friend. She actually took me down to her farm, and I got to witness something that I never experienced growing up. And for me, they were sitting around the fire, they brought out a guitar, and they just started singing as a family. And I was like, what is this? What is this? And it was connection on a much deeper level. I can still picture that and the impact that it actually made in, like, wow, this is a beautiful, loving family. They may have problems, but at that moment, that's all I saw. And it was beautiful. It was kindness. I remember I was going through a rough time, and I called my friend's mom and I said, can I just come down? And she was like, yeah. I went down there for a whole weekend, and I just escaped from the world. And it was amazing. I didn't have to do anything. There was no expectations, no nothing. And then my best friend showed up out of the blue, and she's like, what are you doing here? And she was like, yeah, that's my family. That's what we do. Oh, so I met her when I was 20. And I want to say when I actually, I got to meet her family a couple years later, after we built the relationship. And I got to, I went down there quite a bit, and it was a drive from where I was living, but I didn't care. It was a home. It was
your oxygen.
Yeah, it was my oxygen at the time.
Right. So I'm feeling you, and I'm feeling some energy with you. So not only was it that family, but is it safe to say that, spiritually, it was a spiritual awakening. It was, a righteous awakening. You felt in your soul like, wow, this is it. I mean, any of that?
There was a lot of that. And she's still my best friend today. And we talk as often as we can. She lives in Virginia. And this is all back up in Minnesota. She really kind of helped structure the next chapter of my life. So huge shout out to Inga. Thank you so much. And she brought forth something amazing within me. And she still does to this day. Like, every time that we talk, we have amazing conversations that are deep, are connective. We check in on each other with energy and just make sure that we're in a safe space. And that's something that I don't know if everybody has, but that was something that I got in over a 20-year friendship with her. And so Yeah, she really kind of pushed me in a whole different direction, and my life had changed. And
However, it all started with you. It all started with your fire where something's not right. So, and that's why I think both of us, I mean, we're in a different space, but it's kind of similar. My background, as you know, is broadcast and production, and it's why I decided about a year and a half ago that I wanted to go back and do my own thing, because I want to be able to have my freedom. I want to be able to make a difference in the community, because I could tell you, being down here in South Florida since 2017, I was figuring things out, right? And I never have felt community. I never felt a home. I never felt that this was a community I connected with. However, maybe 3 years ago, I don't know, it clicked. It felt like home, because I wasn't going to go north where I wanted to go, closer to the Space Coast, or I was staying here, or I was absolutely not going north, right, north of the Mason-Dixon line again. So, but however, I felt community, and why I'm so wicked involved right now with a new, what's not new, we've been over a year, but it's a new Chamber of Commerce that is focused on doing things differently and not being a big box Chamber of Commerce. And I love Chamber of Commerces. I've done a lot of work with Chamber of Commerces.
we met at one.
We met at one. I've got some great friends from Chambers of Commerce. So we're just doing it a little bit differently. And the reason being is that I've always been able to be able to connect within my business disruptors in their field. Most of it has been medical. However, the nonprofit and the community is what really got me excited. So the charter school when I went back home, right? The Duathlon when I got back home. We did picnics for my children's school that raised incredible amounts of money, not because of Kevin, right? However, because I surrounded myself with people that were better than me, people that work at the same high level that I expect. Because I just want to be in the background, right? I'm not the guy that needs to be in the front show. If I need to be, I can. I was the the public information speaker or officer for the charter school, but I usually let the president talk because that was his job. So I've always wanted to be able to continue the legacy of my mom and continue the legacy of my dad.
Thank you for joining me on this episode of Visualize. We hope that the inspiration and practical insights can help you foster stronger connections and meaningful change. Don't forget to subscribe, share the episode, and leave us a review. To learn more about Visuals by Momo and how we support collaboration and storytelling, visit visualsbymomo.com. A huge thank you to everyone out there listening. Until next time, remember, collaboration fuels change, and your connections can inspire the world.